You can put a cat in a microwave, but you can't get $1 out of a pancake. You know what I'm saying? One area that's often overlooked when you're thinking about how to make your training more interesting and, more importantly, more effective is the vocal delivery of your material, especially in an instructor-led environment. Now let's look today at the pace, the speed at which you present information. Now there's a spectrum. On the one end of the spectrum are people who speak naturally very slowly with the long pauses, and just the pace of their information is a very relaxed delivery style. Now that's not a bad thing. However, over a long block of presentation, that can become difficult for your learners. Their brains are likely to be skipping ahead while you're slowly laying out the case for your material. The brains of your learners are going, come on, go faster. I got it. I've already figured it out. I'm 5 steps ahead of you. What can you do to avoid problems? Well, number one, break up the blocks of time that you're vocally delivering at presentation style training. Go for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that, and do a game, do an activity, do a breakout session, do a teach the teacher, have them come up and do a group presentation, any number of things, but make sure you only are actually presenting for short periods of time. Something else you can do, utilize video to augment your delivery. So you deliver verbally whatever information you need to deliver, talk, teach, and then quickly play a video that's relevant or demonstrates the topic or explains the topic at a deeper level. So if you speak naturally very slowly, work hard to avoid long blocks of time where you're just talking at this very slow pace. Now the other end of the spectrum is quite obviously people who talk 1,000 miles an hour. Blah! You just speak naturally very quickly. The danger there is that your participants don't have a chance to really pause and reflect and think about the information. They're so busy trying to keep up that you're just blowing past them with information, and their brains can't process it quick enough. And I gotta tell you, they are going to zone out very, very quickly. Now, what can you do? Of course, you can break up your delivery sessions with all the same things: games, activities, videos, etc., etc., etc. The other thing I'd recommend is exploring a Socratic delivery style. A Socratic delivery style allows you to present a little bit of information and then ask questions that guide your participants to kind of connect the dots and figure out the information for themselves. Here's our safety procedure for XYZ. You do A, B, C, XYZ. Why is this important? And then you stop talking and you let your participants figure it out. What happens if you don't follow this procedure? Stop talking, let your participants figure it out. Who has ever experienced a time where the procedure wasn't followed and what happened? And stop talking. So the Socratic delivery style could be a great method for those of you who talk very, very quickly, naturally, to build in those natural pauses. Think about the use of pauses when you're presenting information. You can use pauses very strategically to emphasize a key point, to draw extra attention, to get everybody in the room to kind of stop and then focus on what you're about to say. You could use it after you share a piece of information to give your participant time to reflect. You can use pauses in many, many different ways, and they don't have to be particularly long. Even just that half a beat can draw a little extra attention to what you're talking about. So when you think about the material you're delivering, where can you insert that little strategic pause to accomplish many of these different things? Another great technique is your ability to emphasize specific words. Now, if you've been watching No Boring Training for a while, you'll know that I have certain words that I say a lot throughout my presentations. Something like need to know, for example. And if you've been watching for a while, you might notice that I put a little extra emphasis every time I say need to know. And the point of that is to make that mental connection that, hey, he's really putting just that extra amount of energy into those words. That must mean something. That's just one example of how we can emphasize a specific point and really drive it home. So think about your material. When you think about not only changing your volume level, changing the speed at which you talk, and changing where you insert strategic pauses, think about where you really want to add that little extra emphasis on key words. A quick example might be if you're delivering some sort of safety training, you might get to a certain step of the procedure and say, absolutely, you do not want to do blah, 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 blah. And it puts that little extra emphasis. Be sure you don't slip into yelling because that will mentally wear people out. But that extra emphasis can do wonders. The third tip for today is a little outside just purely the vocal delivery. But think about where you're physically standing in the room when you're delivering your material. Think about where you're standing. Are you always kind of in one spot? Do you move around? Where are you in relationship to your participants? Obviously, depending on the layout of your room means you might have to move in different places. But I'll give you a quick technique. I like when I'm trying to emphasize and really draw attention to some key points to physically move closer to the participants. That act of physically moving closer to their space draws the attention to me. And then when I combine that with some of these other techniques, it gets the brain waves really focusing in on what Adam's talking about in that moment. Now, you have to use that sparingly and, of course, be sensitive to people's personal space issues, cultural customs, etc., etc. But that can be a powerful way to combine physical movement with your voice to add interest and effectiveness. When you're really wanting to draw in interest to a very specific part of your material, think about lowering your voice slightly. Just get a little bit more quiet than you normally would, just by a small amount. This is naturally going to draw the room in towards you, and they're naturally going to have to maybe work a little harder to hear what you're saying. And that can then suddenly focus their brains on the piece of information that you're sharing. Just use it for a short period of time, use it very targeted, but it can be very effective. Conversely, you can elevate your voice. Now, you don't want to yell, but even just bringing up your volume level slightly can be enough to really accentuate a point and really draw the attention to what you're sharing. If you're delivering training virtually, be a little careful because most of the virtual meeting platforms have sound leveling software built into them. So you might be actually yelling and it comes out very, very level in sound. So you gotta kind of almost really lean into it when you're virtual. But that elevating your voice just slightly in strategic places can be super effective. The other practical tip is think about how choppy or melodic your words are. But sometimes when you talk in a very clipped, very staccato, very direct, very clipped sort of way, it can add a little bit of interest to whatever it is you're talking about. And you can combine that with an important part of your material to really draw in interest. Oh my gosh, why is he suddenly in this very direct, very clipped? You're not letting your words sustain. You're not giving this sort of song-like performance. It's a very clipped and direct. It's really good when you're trying to maybe deliver some safety training, when you're trying to deliver training to a large group and you're trying to control that group through your voice. It could be really great with talking maybe to first responders, and you have to really accentuate that this is an important procedure and you need to follow it step by step. But utilize that sort of clipped, very short, punchy words, very sort of almost aggressive type delivery in small doses to add some interest to your session. Conversely to that, you can almost adopt sort of a melodic approach, almost like you're an opera singer on a stage. You're giving a performance of Hamilton to the world, but you sort of take on this very melodic, flowing, I'm giving a speech. I'm John F. Kennedy, or I'm Martin Luther King, delivering this big oratory to a large group of people. And when you take on that vocal style, it sort of opens up the room. It gets people sort of emotionally charged. It kind of brings people, it like talks to their soul. You could change the mental connection to that particular piece of information because you've connected the knowledge to an emotional reaction. So third tip for today, use your vocal delivery to change the energy in the room. Maybe your participants went out the night before and studied with some adult beverages and they're feeling a little low this morning. Well, you can elevate your voice. You could utilize a little bit of humor. You could utilize a quick game activity, something kind of fun or silly, but you could also pour a little extra energy into your room and elevate the energy in the room from you to kind of carry the room a little higher. Maybe your participants are too boisterous. They're too out of control. They're just so excited and they want to ask questions about this and that and the other thing, and they just almost can't even contain their excitement. You can push the energy down a little bit by lowering your voice slightly, by slowing down, by putting some more pauses into your talk, maybe even just not talking at all. So you can control the energy in the room through the vehicle of your voice. Avoid the temptation to use very acronym, jargon-heavy wording when you're delivering your training. Even if it's internal to your organization and you think everybody in the room knows the acronyms, the jargon, the buzzwords of your industry, the reality is they probably don't. So while you drop this really cool acronym that makes you sound super duper smart, there's somebody in the room going, what the hell's that? And now they're sitting there thinking, they're trying to decipher what on earth does this acronym mean? And you're going on delivering training and they're not hearing a single word you're saying. So especially subject matter experts, be very careful to not use too many acronyms, jargons, or buzzwords of your particular industry unless you've taken the time to explain them, unless you've taken the time to verify everybody in the room understands them, unless you've provided some sort of cheat sheet that's visually right up in the room that everybody can see. So choose your words carefully. That's a great way to improve your vocal delivery of instructor-led training and not only be more interesting, but far more effective. Think of your training session as a performance. Think of it as a performance. You are taking your participants on a learning journey from here to there. Think of it as if you are on a stage giving a big performance, a big play. You're performing Hamilton to the world. Think of it as you are part of a movie and you are a central character in that movie. Now, I know this is a bit of a mind trick to get yourself in teaching mode, and I'm not suggesting you go over the top and have lasers and smoke effects and come flying in on a harness. But what I am saying is that if you just read the words on the screen, that's insanely boring, and your participants are just not going to pay attention. So if you lean in and you make it a bit of a performance and you pour some energy into it and your vocal delivery is dynamic and changes in volume and pitch and tenor and does all the techniques that I've been sharing with you, if you put a little razzle-dazzle into it, if they can feel your enthusiasm, that's going to help them to be engaged. That's going to help them to stay excited. That's going to help them to pay more attention to the material so that you can take them on that learning journey. The first place to think about is, of course, volume. A big, booming, yelling type presentation is going to get very tiring very quickly, and your participants will absolutely zone out. They'll quit listening. But you also don't want to have a soft, very hard to hear voice. So think about how you modulate your volume level as you're training. Practice your presentation of the material as well. Obviously, you want to be smooth in your delivery. You want to know the material. But also think about how do you present it in sort of an entertaining way? What are the sort of dramatic points you really want to underscore as you deliver the material? What are the elements where maybe you want to kind of build up a little bit of anticipation, add some dramatic flair? But think about that vocal delivery piece as well. The third area to think about in terms of vocal delivery is your enunciation of your words. It can be very frustrating for your participants when they're trying to listen to what you're saying if you mumble over your words, if they can't really hear it or understand it. Spend some time practicing the enunciation of the words, the clarity with which you share that information. So vocal delivery, it's an important part of the training world. Put some energy into it. There's a million people out there who can help you to present better. But vocal delivery can be a great way to avoid boring training and keep your participants engaged so that you can achieve your learning outcomes. Now, one element of the vocal delivery is the words that we choose to use. Things like slang, catchphrases, idioms, references to pop culture, you have to use very carefully. So think about this scenario. You have a number of participants who are maybe learning in a foreign language. The language you speak is their secondary or tertiary language. Well, if you start using slang and idioms and things like this, your participants may not understand what you're talking about. And they're going to be not listening to what you say after that. They're going to be thinking, what does that mean? What is that word? I don't understand. So be very careful when you're speaking to people who are learning in a different language. Another aspect of the words we use comes from age. Now, certainly I'm speaking with a very broad brush here. I'm painting with a broom. Having said that, though, I have a tendency of making references to movies from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. Well, sometimes that doesn't really make sense to somebody who was born well after that time frame. So while I think I'm being clever and cute, they're thinking, I don't even know what you're talking about. And they either zone out for a little bit or they start wondering, what am I talking about? Or on some level, they're just thinking, oh my God, this guy's 1,000,000 years old. So be very careful with the groups you're presenting to that you're not making references to things they don't have any knowledge of. Be careful of that because it can be distracting and it can derail from training. The third area to think about is the use of vulgarity. Now, this is going to be a little controversial, I suspect, but you have to think about the groups you're presenting to. Are you in a corporate setting? Does the use of vulgarity undermine your professionalism? Does it violate some sort of corporate conduct or code? Are you speaking to a religious organization? Do you have members of the audience that have religious beliefs that your language is going to be an obstacle for? Are you undermining your professionalism by using too much vulgarity? So these are all things to think about. I'm not suggesting that you don't use vulgarity. Lord knows I do. But having said that, there's a time and a place, and you have to think about how is this impacting your learners. It's always about the learner. So if the use of vulgarity is going to cause them a stumbling block to their learning, maybe back off the 4-letter words and use other words. When it comes to instructor-led training, either virtually or in person, the vocal delivery of the material plays a huge role in making it entertaining, interesting, engaging, fun, informative, and ultimately effective for you to guide your participants to knowledge. Practice your vocal delivery. Now, certainly there are people that make a living as vocal coaches. I'm not portraying myself as having that level of expertise, but put some energy into your vocal delivery, and you're going to get better results. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment down below.